What if the door you thought was locked forever was never fully closed? Before the anger rises, before the disbelief turns into laughter, pause for a moment and sit with the idea. Because football has a way of humbling certainty. The NFL punishes absolutes. Every time we say, "That will never happen," the league finds a way to prove us wrong. Right now, the ground beneath Indianapolis is shifting. Quarterback futures are uncertain. Careers once considered finished are suddenly being re-examined. And in the middle of all that noise, a question quietly surfaces, uncomfortable, unexpected, and impossible to ignore. Could Matt Ryan ever come home? It sounds reckless at first. Nostalgic. Maybe even foolish. But history has a way of changing the conversation. Not long ago, the idea of a mid-40s quarterback stepping back onto an NFL field felt absurd. Unthinkable. And yet here we are, watching it happen. The league didn't blink. The game didn't slow down. And the quarterback didn't shatter. So let's strip away emotion and look at reality. Matt Ryan isn't chasing ghosts from a decade ago. His last snap in Atlanta wasn't ancient history. It was just a few seasons back. The gap between 36 and 40 feels massive when you say it out loud, but on the field, it isn't always a cliff. Sometimes it's a slope. Sometimes it's barely noticeable. The numbers from his final season weren't embarrassing. They weren't legendary either, but they were steady, composed, functional. Nearly 4,000 yards. A completion rate north of 67%. Enough touchdowns to move an offense, enough command to keep it alive. Not brilliance, but competence. And in this league, competence under pressure still has value. What makes this conversation real isn't nostalgia. It's Matt Ryan himself. He's admitted it. Sitting on the couch. Watching games. Feeling that familiar pull in his chest. That voice that tells athletes their story might not be finished yet. He knows the cost now. He knows hits linger longer. He knows 40 throws don't leave your arm the same way they used to. He's felt it. He's lived it. And still, the thought won't go away. That matters. Yes, time off changes things. Rhythm fades. Timing dulls. The body demands more care than it once did. But preparation has always been Matt Ryan's strength. Give him structure. Give him an off-season. Give him clarity, and suddenly this isn't a fantasy, it's a possibility. Age used to be a death sentence in this league. It isn't anymore. We've watched quarterbacks rewrite the timeline. 40 isn't ancient. 40 is experienced. It's scar tissue and survival. And if players older than Ryan can step back in and compete, then pretending it's impossible for him becomes dishonest. He was never a runner. He never relied on speed. His game was vision, timing, and control. Those traits don't vanish overnight. Is it likely? Probably not. Is it guaranteed? Absolutely not. But impossible? Not anymore. And that's why this question exists at all. Because the NFL keeps reminding us that certainty is fragile, and yesterday's endings don't always stay that way. This only works if there's a plan. Not a headline grab. Not a nostalgia tour. A real, disciplined blueprint, one that treats this idea not as a miracle, but as a calculated move inside a much bigger picture. Because bringing Matt Ryan back without direction would be reckless. But bringing him back with intention? That's where things get interesting. The first piece is uncomfortable, but unavoidable. Money shapes everything in this league. Clearing space isn't optional, it's foundational. Cutting ties with the current quarterback situation would immediately open a financial door. Not a crack. A wide opening. Tens of millions freed, flexibility restored, control reclaimed. The kind of reset that allows a front office to breathe again. But that money doesn't go to Matt Ryan. That's the key detail everyone misses. If this happens, Ryan doesn't return as a paid savior. He returns as a bridge. A veteran minimum contract. No ego. No leverage. Just a simple agreement. I'm here to help you survive the present while you build the future. That's step one. Step two is where responsibility enters the room. You cannot do this without drafting a quarterback. Period. Rolling into a new season with a 40-year-old and no succession plan would be organizational malpractice. This plan only works if Ryan is never meant to be the answer, only the guide. 6 games. Maybe 8. That's the window. Not a full season. Not a farewell tour. Just enough time to stabilize the offense, protect a rookie from being thrown into chaos, and show a young quarterback what preparation at the highest level actually looks like. How to read defenses. How to manage pressure. How to survive Sundays when everything is collapsing around you. That's where Ryan's real value lives. He becomes a player coach. A living classroom. The veteran voice in the huddle when panic sets in. The steady hand when a rookie's confidence starts to shake. Then, when the moment is right, he steps aside. The rookie takes over, not rushed, not broken, not overwhelmed. And suddenly, this isn't about the past anymore. It's about transition. The draft doesn't need a superstar. It needs someone moldable. Someone who can sit, learn, and absorb. Whether that's a mid-round pick, a developmental arm, or a quarterback nobody's arguing about yet, that part almost doesn't matter. What matters is the environment they walk into. One where mistakes aren't fatal. One where leadership is already in the room. One where the bridge doesn't collapse under pressure. That's the vision. Not Matt Ryan as a hero. Not Matt Ryan as a long-term solution. Matt Ryan as the calm before the rebuild truly begins. There's one truth that makes this entire idea fragile. And it has nothing to do with arm strength, age, or draft boards. It's about honesty. If this plan ever becomes real, the organization would have to admit something out loud, something teams hate admitting. You cannot do this while clinging to 2 timelines at once. You can't protect the future and resurrect the past in the same breath. Because if Matt Ryan walks back into the building, one door slams shut immediately. Michael Penix Jr. cannot still be there. Not on paper. Not on the depth chart. Not in the locker room. This isn't about talent. It's about message. Keeping a young quarterback while bringing back a franchise legend sends a brutal signal, one no rookie ever forgets. It tells him that when things got uncomfortable, the organization reached backward instead of believing forward. That his development mattered less than familiarity. That trust was conditional. And once that message is sent, you don't get it back. On the field, the comparison wouldn't even be unfair. Stylistically, the similarities are obvious. Through their early starts, the numbers line up almost eerily. Same rhythm. Same pocket presence. Same strengths. Same limitations. The game itself wouldn't expose the problem. The damage would be invisible. Confidence erodes quietly. Trust disappears without headlines. A young quarterback doesn't need to hear the words to understand the reality. We chose someone else. Even injuries complicate this further. Recovery timelines. Readiness questions. All of it adds uncertainty. But uncertainty doesn't justify hesitation forever. At some point, a franchise has to choose a direction and accept the consequences. That's why this scenario demands a clean break. If Matt Ryan returns, it means the team is admitting the previous bet didn't land. Not because of effort. Not because of character. But because timing, health, and circumstance didn't align. And that admission hurts. But pretending otherwise hurts more. Only then does the rest of the plan hold together. A drafted quarterback. A veteran bridge. A clear succession. No mixed signals. That's also why the odds remain slim. Teams don't like reversing course. They don't like public course corrections. And they especially don't like reopening chapters they already closed. This isn't likely. It isn't expected. It probably never happens. But football has never cared about probability. It cares about moments. And if the stars aligned, if the past was welcomed back not as a savior, but as a final guide, then yes, there's a version of this story where Matt Ryan takes one last snap, in the same uniform where it all began, and walks away on his own terms. Unlikely? Absolutely. Impossible? Not anymore.